This is the voice level. This is the expectation. Everybody is at this voice level. If I'm here, you are here. We are all here. Building relationships, Mr. Espinosa said earlier. If you foster good relationships and positive relationships with your students, guess what? They will do what you ask. Bring high energy. Y'all, I try really hard to have high energy, especially in the mornings, because that's when everybody's energy is like, eh. And so when you have high energy, guess what? The kids have high energy too. All you gotta do is just be like, let's go, good morning. And they go from good morning to, good morning, miss. Okay. Now some of them are still like, good morning. But they're warming up now. Create a safe space. Guys, make sure your classrooms are welcoming, a safe environment. That means we have to make sure all of our students are respecting one another at all times. Because if not, we're gonna have kids that just don't feel safe.
Can I ask something?
Go ahead, of course.
Don't use sarcasm.
Don't use sarcasm.
They don't get it.
Oh yes,
They
I'm glad you said
understand
that.
it.
I'm glad you said that. Don't be sarcastic. Sometimes they really legit don't get it. I know we're in high school and we think that high school kids know everything, but at the end of the day, there are a lot of gaps that these kids have, and some of them really just don't get it, okay? Stay accountable and have fun. Guys, at the end of the day, this is the profession we chose. It should be fun. All right, text to self. Think back when you were in high school. I know for some of y'all it was yesterday, and for some of y'all it was a long, long time ago. But it's okay. Think about 3 things that your teacher did to help you stay engaged in class. And I know it's gonna take you a minute, so I'm gonna give you 2 minutes to write 3 things that your teacher did to help you stay engaged in class. Go ahead and just write those things down. You guys have 2 minutes. Guys have a minute and 30 seconds. All right, you guys have about 30 seconds. Okay, so what did your high school teachers do to keep you engaged? So you may have something? Go ahead, Mr. Espinosa.
So there was 2 different things: the positive reinforcement, receiving like a sticker or like a prize or some type of incentive, trust they gave me, and then it was also like giving me like my graded work back like right away. So I was able to see my scores. Yeah.
So seeing your scores and positive reinforcement. Anybody have anything else?
It's hard for me to say because I was a student who was at an early college, but I was also intrinsically self-motivated, so I didn't have to have these cognitive tricks used on me to get me to talk in class. I was a student who talked too much in class, and I would joke around. I was a class clown. So the teachers would have to use the other side of them to give me limits. So they'd be like, Wesley, I'm calling you twice.
Okay.
So use it when you need it, or when you really want to say something.
Okay. But were you engaged still? Did it keep you engaged?
Yeah, and just goof off in the back.
Oh. Okay. What about you, Ms. Marquez?
The teacher set clear expectations and made the lesson fun.
Okay, that's crazy because that's one of the things that I remember. I had a high school teacher that just was so high energy. She would stand on the desk and just start, all right, y'all, this is what we're gonna do today. And I took that energy, and I don't know if y'all have seen me teach, but man, I loved her energy. And so I tried to take that energy and give that energy to my students as well. So I'm glad that you said fun. All right, so I had one more slide, and I don't know what's happened. Here it is. All right. Okay, so because we're at an NES school, we have to use MRS icons and strategies. One of the ways that we can keep our students engaged is to make sure that we're using the correct MRS strategies with our students at the correct time. So really quickly, before we come to a close, I just want to go over how to utilize these MRS strategies properly, right? So if we have a think, pair, share, right? When is an appropriate time to use a think, pair, share?
During the we do part of the lesson.
I love that. During the we do part of the lesson. Good. Why?
Because it's literally groups of students coming to a question. It's a key part of the lesson where you can check in and see, oh, if they really don't get it, then you need to either staff it more, go back to vocab. And if they're all getting it during the think, pair, share, then it's time to step up the heat,
Yes.
the rigor. There you are.
I love that word. Rigor. Because that's what we're trying to do here, okay? During the we do part of the lesson, like Mr. Wallace said, it's a great check for understanding, and it gives you the opportunity to step up the rigor. Now, in the event that you do a think, pair, share, and your students don't want to talk, or you have a group of students that just do not like to talk, would a think, pair, share be appropriate at that time? Or what is an alternative that we could use? What MRS strategy could we use if we have a group of students that it's not that they don't understand, they're just not a talkative bunch? What would get them more comfortable? Instead of a think, pair, share, what could we use?
The whiteboards, right?
Maybe. Or even an ink pair share. Ink pair shares allow students to think and write down their thoughts before just saying what they're thinking. Some of our students have a hard time going from thought to speaking. Some of them have to write down what they want to say so that when it comes out of their mouth, it makes sense. If we're going to talk about whiteboards, because you just said whiteboard, and I'm going through all of these. If we're going to talk about whiteboards, when is an appropriate time to use a whiteboard strategy?
Multiple choice questions.
Multiple choice questions. Why?
Oh, like that, we can make sure no one is copying off each other, right? Everyone's thinking independently.
Everybody's thinking independently. Nobody's opting out. And one of the big things is, for whiteboards, we don't want it to be a long and drawn out message. We want it to be one word, 2 words, a letter on the whiteboard, boom, 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 and down. So this is an excellent strategy to use when you have multiple choice. Another time you can use a whiteboard if you have a 1-word response. Get it?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Okay, so we have table talk. Table talk and turn and talks we can utilize the same way. When is an appropriate time to use a turn and talk or a table talk? Ooh, I like this. Your minds are turning. When is an appropriate time to use a turn and talk or a table talk?
So turn and talk is gonna be just for two people, and the table talk, you're looking for the whole group, which in my case is 4 students collaborating and giving one response, one possible outcome. So I think it just depends if you want them to read something short, and you want us to part A, read part of reading, then I would do a turn and talk. And then I would, if it's something that's maybe requires a little more attention, or if it's a bigger passage, then I would probably be like, table talk.
When we want students to read, that is a good time to use a turn and talk or a table talk. Another good time is when we want them to bounce ideas off of each other. So when we ask questions and we want not only for students to have their own answers, but to see a different perspective or lens, it's a good chance to use a table talk and a turn and talk. Now, a oral quarrel. I know you guys are trying to do away with oral quarrels, but when we have vocabulary and we're just reading definitions, it's a good time to just do a quick oral quarrel to just make sure all students are actively engaged. And then we have modified whip-arounds and whip-arounds. When is a great time to use modified whip-arounds or whip-arounds?
When the students are not engaged.
Okay, if your students are not engaged and we want them more engaged, because a whip-around forces you to get up and speak. Another time might be after a turn and talk or after a table talk, because they've had their own discussions, but as the educator, we might not have been able to get around. So I haven't been able to get around to everyone. So you, and you, up. What did this table say? 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 Now you've done a quick check for understanding. Yes? And then we have quick responses. When is an appropriate time to use a quick response?
We could try and get like a pulse check, just like a one word, one short answer response, just kind of check for understanding.
Love it. A pulse check. Just a quick one word, short answer response, check for understanding. Very similar to a whiteboard. But instead of writing, we don't have time for that. We're moving through the lesson. Remember, we have to keep our pacing. So boom, quick response, go. Yes? And then last but not least, short constructive responses. And this is used when we want our students to do what?
SCRs, right?
When do we use SCRs?
ACEs.
When we want them to write ACEs paragraphs. Guys, we have to get our students writing, because during the STAR testing, they have to write an ECR. They have to start writing. So this is when we use a short constructive response card. Now, text. Oh, we did this. Where did my exit ticket go? Well, I had an exit ticket that disappeared, but it's okay. Oh, there it is. Exit ticket. All right, for today's exit ticket, can you just write down one key takeaway that you learned about student engagement that you will implement in your classroom, and why you think it's important for making class more interesting and meaningful? That's all you're gonna do, real quick. It's gonna be a 3-minute exit ticket. Go ahead and write. one key takeaway you learned about student engagement that you'll implement in your classroom and why you think it's important? You guys have about 2 more minutes left. One more minute. All right, before we leave, Mr. Espinosa, please, could you just give me one takeaway that you got from today that you'll implement in your classroom?
Absolutely. So my biggest takeaway is just moving forward, I want to make a connection with my students, and I want that connection to drive my lessons and hopefully be very intentional moving forward with my lessons so I can encourage students to not only participate, but to continue to participate. And eventually the more they trust what I'm doing, hopefully it'll transpire them to be, be more active involved in class, and hopefully they'll ultimately reach like student achievement activity. So more meaningful lessons, be very intentional with my assignments, and just make better connections overall.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Thank you guys for participating. Guys, have a good one.
Thank you.